If everybody would, I'm going to ask James Stroud if he'll lead us in the prayer.
Father, we love you and we just thank you so much for letting us be together this morning. Father, I think it's important for all of us in prayer to pray for patience and the things that are going on in our world this morning, that we as a world just calm down a little bit. We need your guidance. We want to please give courage and knowledge to our president on some really key things that's happening right now. So, Father, please, we're just asking that you just pay attention to that for us and for the world. Lord, thank you for what we're getting ready to do today. Thank you for the privilege of serving. Thank you so much for this group of people that just love each other and love the Lord. Let us have a good meeting, and please let us, Father, if you don't mind, let us have a safe trip home, and let us have the knowledge and the courage to make the right decisions that we have been chosen to look at and decide on. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
If you would, remain standing for the pledge, and I'm going to ask Marshall and John David Box to come up to the microphone and lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, guys. All right, we're here on Full Commission Day. I want to welcome each one of you out this morning. I am Kurt Holbert. I'm the chairman. We've got a few special guests with us this morning. We've got Miss Laura and Mr. Clarence Dice from the Tennessee Fur Harvesters Association, Mr. Bill Cox, former commissioner. We've got Commissioner Box's husband, Brad, daughter, Jenna, sons, Marshall, and John David, who led us in the pledge. Thanks, guys. You guys did a great job. I've also got David Brown, the executive director of the Tennessee Paddle Sports Association. I don't see anybody else that I've missed. So, Danette, would you call the roll, please?
Dennis Gardner.
Here.
Jimmy Granberry.
Here.
Steve Jones.
Here.
Connie King. Jim Ripley.
Here.
Tony Sanders.
Here.
James Stroud.
Here.
Kent Woods.
Here.
Tommy Woods.
Here.
Hank Wright. Angie Box.
Here.
Brian McLerran.
Here.
Kurt Holbert.
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Danette. On your iPads or in front of you, you've all seen the minutes of the last meeting. Do I hear a motion for approval? A motion from McLerran and a second down that way. Commissioner Ripley. All in favor, and I'm saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Minutes are approved. As far as announcements, we don't have any other than Director Carter is late. I want to get that on public record here. But anyway, without further delay, I'm going to call. We're going to do the rulemaking first. That's the way it's on here, so I'm going to do it first. Okay, I'm going to call on Captain Walter Cook. He had a rough day yesterday. I tell you, I'm glad he's doing better today. Hold on, Walter. I got to read something and I don't have it. Sorry, Walter. I got to introduce you properly.
Okay, I'm good.
This is a rulemaking hearing before the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission to consider amending Rule 1660-01-11, which deals with rules and regulations governing shooting operation of private wildlife preserves. My name is Kurt Holbert, and I will conduct the hearing. Now you're ready.
Thank you, Chairman. This rule amendment is being done in tandem with the rule amendment and new rules that were put in place by the Tennessee Department of Agriculture in regard to service facilities. Upon passing this amendment, the following things we hope will take place. It will allow preserves to acquire captive cervids in-state upon being enrolled in a CWD monitoring program. Unlike now, in-state herds have to have been enrolled in a CWD monitoring program for at least 5 years. The purpose of that is to aid agriculture into getting an assessment of the CWD status with captive cervids within our state. We have 98 facilities, captive cervid facilities in state. 8 are enrolled in a monitoring program at present. 2 herds are part of an inventory for zoos. All these animals are tested, which leaves about 88 facilities still out there that they're trying to get an assessment of what they have. That's not good. And I didn't touch anything, I promise. Thank you, Richard. Upon being enrolled, they can sell immediately into preserved CWD susceptible species. Also, the rule amendment requires those animals acquired to be harvested and tested within a year, and those animals cannot be transferred to any other facilities. This will help with the enhanced surveillance of captive cervids. Also, Ag will be responsible for ensuring that all testing is done for CWD on the preserves, and we will assist where needed. The rule also goes in and clarifies indigenous and non-indigenous species. The reason for doing that is Class 3 animals are non-indigenous big game species under agriculture's jurisdiction, and captive elk. The rule goes in and includes captive elk as delineated in statute as being under their jurisdiction and can be recaptured and returned to the owner. Indigenous or native wildlife, if it escapes the preserve, cannot be recaptured. It also requires the preserve operators to notify the Tennessee Department of Agriculture within 24 hours of an escape. And we as an agency will approve the method of recapture and or take since they will be removing a wildlife species from the wild. One other thing we did is went in editing and spelling. I'd like to thank Thomas Moncrieve. He worked on that. I've looked at that rule for 27 years and didn't realize how bad it was until he went back and corrected everything, and I really appreciate his time. He also went in and instilled continuity throughout the rule. If you'll notice under the rule amendment, Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency is mentioned in full in the first paragraph, then referred to as TWRA throughout the rest of the rule. And if you look at the measurements and requirements for facilities, they've all been placed in inches, and we're not switching back and forth between feet and inches. It makes it easier to read, easier to understand. And I believe I've covered everything in regard to this amendment. And if there are any questions, I will be more than happy to take those from the commission.
Anybody got any questions? Commissioner Gardner?
Yeah, on the 12-month, they have to be harvested and tested within 12 months.
Yes, sir.
So that goes for just the ones that are imported after this rule goes into effect, or after the change goes into effect, or with their current inventory.
It would, when the rule goes into effect, if we have a CWD susceptible species, a herd, is enrolled in agriculture and they're enrolled one day and sold that day, those animals that will go into a preserve at that point would have to be harvested. That doesn't account for animals that have been imported or acquired legally to this point that are on preserves. But it would be, the whole purpose is to try to get those herds that are out there that we have no idea what their background, where they've come from, what their disease status is. And testing within 12 months ensures that we get it done. That was asked to be entered in by our vet, Dr. Grove, and the Department of Agriculture was very much in favor of that being added.
Yeah, so if, I'm guessing some of these animals are being hunted, and so if they don't get harvested during their hunting season, they would have to go remove them.
What most of them do with these animals, these cervids, they hold them in another facility, and once they've sold a hunt, they will move it into the hunt area. So they will know what they've got as far as existing herd, red deer and elk, and if they acquire them, they are in a monitoring program. They will probably hold them in another facility because the animals they currently have are in the 5-year monitoring program.
Okay.
So that's how Allen Wilson and Carioni will do theirs.
Yeah, I didn't realize how managed it is, I guess.
It's extremely
yeah.
managed.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Box?
Does the agency partner with Department of Ag, or is this some, on these kind of
Thi-
projects, or
this
is they
is-
just on their own? Department
No,
of Ag?
we work together with them on preserves because they approve the class 3 species,
Okay.
the non-indigenous. They do the testing. And this is part of our response to the CWD positives in West Tennessee. We knew we were going to have to promulgate some rules. They promulgated rules for cervid facilities, which they've been trying to get a handle on this for years, but the positive CWDs gave them what they needed to go forward with the rule. And the new rule is if you have CWD susceptible species, just to say you have like 5 elk at your home, you're going to have to enroll them. They're going to have to know where they're at. And once it's done, if you want to sell them to a preserve, you can. And that's the whole thing. The preserves are, from everything I've seen, they're very happy about this because they're going to buy animals at a fraction of the cost of what they pay to import.
You said there's like 88 facilities.
Yeah,
in the state
we know where they're
somewhere?
at. We got an idea of what species. Actually, our officers did the inventories for ag in conjunction with their people. And I really appreciate the officers' effort. Colonel Ryder put it out there and asked them, if you know where any high fences are, and they did a really good job. And Department of Agriculture complimented the agency on that work effort. And that was just part of the response. We've been working through it since December.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Commissioner McLerran?
So, if I had a animal at home
Yes, sir.
and enrolled it in the program and then sold it to a preserve, it has to be harvested within a year.
Yes, sir.
So it won't be tested until it's harvested.
Correct. Because the animal has to be dead, and then they remove the pharyngeal lymph node, just like we do on whitetail that are harvested that we're surveilling.
So this is all kind of new to me.
Yes, sir.
I guess they're quarantined so that they're not infecting other animals if they were. We don't know if they're positive or not.
Exactly, and that's the reason when we looked at this, we met with the Department of Agriculture and Dr. Grove, and I think Bobby was there, and we went through, and this is the best possible scenario to do this, and the preserves worked really close with 2 of our very large preserves, and they've got facilities, and they said most likely these animals they brought in, they would hold separate, and they would most likely utilize those animals first in their operations and hold their regular monitor stock back.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from commissioners? Any comments from the public? All right, the rulemaking, we're going to do a roll call vote. So, Danette, if you would call the roll.
Angie Box,
Yes.
Brian McLerran,
Yes.
Dennis Gardner,
Aye.
Jimmy Granberry,
Yes.
Steve Jones, Connie King, Jim Ripley,
Yes.
Tony Sanders,
Aye.
James Stroud, Kent Woods,
Yes.
Tommy Woods, Hank Wright, Kurt Holbert.
Yes.
All ayes.
Motion carried. Yeah, she's calling everybody. All right. Thanks, Walter.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I appreciate it.
Director Carter, you have any announcements? Okay. Oh. Glad. Wanted to make sure. All right. Next, we've got Mr. Wally Akins. Yesterday, Wally presented Proclamation 1904 on WMAs and public hunting areas and refuges. Was an amendment, mainly a cleanup to a date that was misprinted in the book. But Wally, if you've got the dates up, but does anybody have any questions about that? I know all of you were here yesterday, so does any commissioner have any questions? Any comment or questions from the public? All right.
Motion to approve.
All right. Motion from the Wildlife Committee to approve. Do I hear a second? Second from Commissioner Stroud. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thanks, Wally.
Thank you.
You did a good job. The best, much better than Walter's. Smoother. It was a lot smoother. Does any commissioner have anything else that needs to be brought up today? Commissioner Stroud, you really look like you're thinking hard.
Am I?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just, I just got this dumb look in my face. And I fooled you. Did I look smart? Did I look like I was contemplating?
Yeah, you really did.
Actually, I have to say, I was thinking about those donuts out there. And I would like to make a motion. No, please forgive me. I'm sorry. No.
All right. Director Carter, do you have...
There is
Hold
one.
on.
I know we were notified about the July situation. You want to make sure that everyone understands that it's not a commission meeting, but a budget meeting?
It is a budget meeting only. Every commissioner is welcome. You will be reimbursed. And we'd be glad for you to be there. But you won't be counted absent if you're not there. But it is just an informative budget committee meeting, is workshop. So that's what it is, and you are all welcome to be there. But it is definitely not required, and there won't be any voting or anything. But you're welcome to all be there.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to reiterate what Commissioner Stroud said yesterday on the retention and the presentations every meeting, notify the public and the commission of what all the agency is doing for that, field of work. And also reiterate that if you've got an idea, don't be shy. Y'all might have looked at it 20 years ago when we weren't on the commission, but there's always good ideas about, doing things for retention in the state. And I know Commissioner Stroud and I are working on a little strategy that will advance down the road as we get further, but it's always good.
Anyone else? Nothing, Director Carter? No parting words? All right. All right. Sounds good. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.